Alrighty. Hey everybody, Steve here, and today we're going to be going through and painting this helmet. In a previous video, what we ended up doing is hitting this up, and we used our Army Painter airbrush paints. So there's 3 types of paint on this, and so the first one was this charred bone, and then we put in some skeleton bone, and then we did some highlights with bleach bone. So now that we did that with the airbrush, what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll remove the tape, and then we'll do some more painting, except we're going to be using brushes, and yeah, that's what we're going to end up doing. So with that, move some of this stuff out of the way. Now is your chance to like and subscribe to the channel, and that way you can keep abreast of all the stuff that we got going on. So we do miniature painting, we do some helmet painting, we're going to get into some cosplay armor a bit later on, and then what else do? We do 3D resin printing, FDM printing, and this stuff should come out pretty good. So I kind of like how we got the base and everything, and I think the next thing we'll end up doing is adding in some wash onto this, and that way we can get some more depth and we can get some color into those creases. So while we do have the highlights on here from those paints, we'll do the washes, and that will get into the creases of everything, and I think that will turn out pretty good. I don't know. We'll give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. You know what? I should probably, what would be a good idea is to get my tablet, and if I get my tablet in here, then I can kind of monitor what's going on, and if I got any questions. So what I'll end up doing, so I got this little tablet thing here. I'll just go ahead and pop this out of the case. I don't know where my larger tablet is. Oh, that's right, it's in the living room. It's getting charged up. So, oh, this one's out too. Seriously? Really? That's what we're doing? Let's see if we can get this charged up. Oh yeah, it is. It's like dead. So this will be interesting. Put it in like that. No, I got all kinds of technical difficulties going on here. Just to try to. And we'll try to move this stuff over here so I can get a view of this, and see if we can't get. Can we get it? Yeah, I guess we're not going to be able to. Dang it. Well, we've got the. Oh, I need to plug it in. That would probably help. If you don't plug in the power, you don't get power. What are the odds of that happening? That is kind of crazy. So let's see if we can get. Yeah, it's like dead. So if you got any comments, I apologize for not being able to read them right now. But we'll just have to make do. And that was a little That was my fault. So, yeah, the joys of live streaming. Yeah, it's dead. That's what you get for not putting it on the. Uh-oh, it's booting up. We might be able to read comments here. But this should be a good little paint job. I needed something to do. And, okay, so there we've got that. And now we can get up to YouTube. Can you all see that? No, you can't. It's off screen. Connect to the internet. I am trying. Man, so much stuff going wrong today. But we will get there. And just continue. Let's get not to track. And seriously. I'm trying to find my page. There it is. So we're finally live. And so I'll be able to read the comments, but I'm not going to, I don't have my sign in on this one. So, but at least I can read them and I can answer them. If you don't, that's fine too. So we're just going to take all this stuff off here. And yeah, this is what we have. So we're gonna, sorry for the light if that's like washing everything out. Maybe we could take that down a notch and we'll see how that turned out. So yeah, not bad. I think we got some highlights in there. We definitely got some pretty good depth with that. So that should work out okay. And I'm gonna need some water because I'm out of water in my thing. That's okay. We'll just use whatever's in there. So, my dropper. Even got some tubing and stuff that'll go onto this. So, I have some tubing that'll go in there, and that'll be pretty cool once this all gets done. This is some old air hose stuff. So, yeah, that'll be kind of cool. All right. So, let us begin. Let's get a little bit of wetness there. And what we'll end up doing, we will do this one. And we will do some wash. So we've got our choice. We've got flesh wash, and then we've got a soft tone, which and then we also have a strong tone. So I think we'll end up doing, we'll do the strong. And I'll put those back and we'll see how this goes. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. We repaint it, redo it, whatever. And oh yeah, we got the tape on the cross there that we can take off. my audio is a little off or sounds different, that's also because I'm using the webcam microphone, because I'm kind of in a transition period, because I've got a video switcher, but the microphone I have is a Blue Yeti, which is a USB, and usually that's hooked up to my computer, to my Mac, which it is. But the problem with that is the cord isn't long enough to come over here to the desk because I rearranged the room and everything. So eventually we'll get another microphone. So we'll just have to see what we can do with what we got right now. So we'll just pour some of this in here. And we'll just go at it. And I don't know. Let's just go with, see what happens. So this will be interesting because with the airbrush that we ended up using, I'm not sure how the wash is going to react to this. So might have to just play with this and see how this goes. So we might have to play with this a bit. So in worst case scenario, we'll just have to play around and see what we get with this. So, and then if we do get it to where it's too dark, what we could end up doing is just kind of buffing this out a little bit and get like a towel, and we can kind of do some blotch work on here and just kind of rub it on and see how that goes. Just kind of do that on just kind of the high areas. Get a little bit of depth in there, and then on the darker areas in here, kind of blotch this in here. Almost like a shading type of stuff we could end up doing. Especially down on these bottom areas. You can just kind of blot that stuff in there. Try to see how that goes. Just kind of buff that out a little bit. Try to maintain some highlights. See how that goes. So yeah, we get some color in there. Not bad. A little bit more on the underside there. So we got that. Coming up a little bit more character that we got going on there. It's a great thing about washes. You can just kind of throw this stuff on for the most part, and you will be good to go. We're going to paint over that, so I'm not too worried about that. But we can take these ridges, little recesses, and we can kind of paint in have that pool in there. So that will give some more definition. And we'll get that. Not bad, not bad. Of course, that bottom piece is going to have metal down there, so I'm not too worried about that. So I'll have to hit all that up around that chin area. And then we'll have to come back with the white. We'll do the teeth, and then we'll probably add in another wash so we can get the separation with that and kind of grinding up that stuff there. Just kind of smooth that out a little bit. It's pretty neat, isn't it? So that's turning out all right. We're getting some darkness in there. Just kind of put some more. Really get some dark in here, in these areas, towards the bottom. So that way we can get some good shadow in there towards the bottom part of that, around those edges. So really kind of make that cross on his head pop. So you can kind of get that type of action there. And a little bit more under the eyes there. Should almost be good with that. I think it turned out pretty good. And for the nose, we'll probably come back with the nose and we'll do an even darker wash on the insides here. So that way you can get really pronounced dark in there on the inside. And the same thing in there. Just kind of a little bit more. So yeah, I think that turns out pretty good. Pretty good. So yeah, I think that'll come out pretty good. So we got some depth in there, fill in some of those areas And I think we are almost good on this. Like I said, we could probably come back with this with the darker wash for the nose areas because that's all going to dry. And maybe I'll do a little bit more under on this side. Is that what we use? Soft? I don't know. We'll find out. And then the other thing you can do with washes as well, because I'm noticing that this is a different color than what we used. You can also use a variety of shades to do kind of like highlighting. So you could do a darker shade, a lighter shade, and then a lighter shade, and that could work as well. So yeah, you get a little bit different colors, with the different shades and stuff like that. So that might be something to try and expand upon as well. Just kind of blotch work here. Again, nothing real crazy. But we've got a pretty good amount of wash on here, and I think that really did a lot for this. So how does that look? Not bad at all. Okay. I haven't even picked down here. All kinds of jacked up. No water, no paper towels. Mike's all jacked. Be right back. Alrighty. What are some of the other things that we can do on this? We could go through and start painting. We could go through and paint this, like I said. And we could do like the metal areas on this. So, which would be interesting because we got some options here. We've got like a different color that we can have here versus this here. So, and then on the side pieces here. So we're looking at least two different colors. And then I'm not even sure what we're going to do with that star on there. I'm not up on all the WarHammer lore and colors and all that stuff. So we would have to take a look at that and see how that goes. If anybody knows, put it in the comment section and I can read that and I could run with that. The other thing I have is speed paints. So I've got speed paints over here, but I don't know if that's going to work because we didn't do zenithal on this and we didn't do any dry brushing. So I don't think that the speed paints are really going to work that well. We've got regular paints, and so what we could end up doing is doing some gunmetal. We have plate nail metal, and then we have shining silver. But then we also, we don't want that. We also have some Citadel with lead belcher. Lead Belcher is really good. I really like Lead Belcher, and I transferred all these into dropper bottles. So if you tip your bottle over, you don't lose all your paint. So silver is really high, shiny silver, so I don't think we want that. We could do some accents. How about we do the Lead Belcher as the base for the helmet, and then we could come back and do some accessories, and we could do like a weapons bronze on some of these pieces, or some of the little details like on the side of his head. We could do that. Of course, there's always the Retributor armor, which is a real good color as well. That would be a good one. And then let's see, what else do we got? I do have broadsword silver, which could be used as a highlight. This is a metallic on the speed paint. And then I've got some airbrush paints that I use. And we've got like rough iron. So we have that. Plate mail metal. So that's kind of the same thing. The thing I like about the airbrush paints is that they're already diluted. And so you can use these with brushes and it works out pretty good. So many decisions. That we could do the Retributor armor for some of the side pieces on the head. So I think what we'll end up doing is let's just do the Lead Belcher. Let's go ahead and mix this up. And it's definitely something we need to do, is mix these paints up. And one thing with the airbrush paints that I found is that these are easier to mix than compared to the regular paints, which the regular war paints from Army Painter, they really need to be mixed for a long time. Sometimes if they've been sitting for a while, and sometimes you might even need to add some type of little dilute it down a little bit. So maybe some thinner to get that stuff going. And the Citadel paints, or those paint pots, those things were horrible. These little paint pots that they have, these are horrible. They just dry your paints out faster. I really think they're just made so it can dry out your paint sooner, and so you have to buy more paints. So let's go ahead and we will throw some Lead Belcher on here, which is a real good color. Lead Belcher I ended up using on this guy here, this cave troll that we ended up painting. I used that was on the armor and stuff like that. I ended up using inks for actually the skin. So yeah, that came out really good. Really good. That's a good one. I like that. So let's see. And we'll start on the top and work our way down. And in there, we'll just kind of paint that in there real sloppy like. That'll be good to go. And then on here, with this, I used a 2-in-1 filler on this. And it turned out pretty good. So because eventually I'm going to be doing a bigger helmet. Matter of fact, I already have a bigger helmet. I printed out a Doomslayer helmet. And eventually going to do that for cosplay. That'll be my very first big cosplay, my first cosplay ever, regardless. And so that should be an interesting thing. I figure I'm going to be 59, so I can do what I want. And this lead belcher, this is kind of interesting because I use this gray primer. So this will give a different, kind of a different color that I'm seeing. But it's still lead belcher. So I'm still digging it. And I'm not going to get real crazy on this for like details. I'm just going to try to get this thing painted and kind of like the servo helmet on the K2 Plus. Just kind of overseeing everything. It's just got a small miniature helmet. But the good thing with this miniature helmet is I was able to kind of do a little test run and kind of do a little miniature painting prep, how to go through, sand it, and do all that stuff. So that's turned out pretty good. I like that lead belcher. It's always got a good color to it. So I think we'll continue on with that. The lead belcher it is. And then for the side piece, we'll do something a little bit different with that. It does need to be mixed up a bit more. Get all kinds of camera gear. So redid my room, got lighting in here, and upgrading the studio. And like I said, I ended up getting a video switcher, so we'll get some better cameras and try to move forward in regards to the video production and getting better quality video and audio, all of that stuff. I think we're sufficiently engaged. Okay, so let us just keep going. Oh yeah, that's the lead belcher we all know and love. Yes, yes, yes. So the Doomslayer helmet that I'm going to be working on is going to be part of the armor. I ended up getting it from Galactic Armory. So eventually, when those guys get their armor smith type program done, I'll be jumping on to that. So yeah, that'll be kind of a cool thing. And then that way I can get the armor sized up and all that stuff. Because I'm a little bit bigger than the average person. I'm 6'2", 260 pounds, and pretty much got visible abs. I've got some bigger arms than most. I go to the gym a lot, but I definitely want to make sure that I scale the armor correctly. So I'm kind of hesitant to do the armor on my own and just try to scale it, with just increasing it or taking measurements. I know I'll need measurements, but yeah, I'd rather just, wait till they get Galactic Armory gets that program out, and then we can do a proper job of the scaling and all that stuff. So yeah, some fun stuff is going to be had here. And, I mean, who else does cosplay so late in life? Anybody? I'm going to be 59. And so I decided, you know what? I want to have fun. It's on the bucket list. We're going to do it. But the other cool thing is that I'm here in Korea. So thankfully they do Halloween. So we'll be able to, we'll get we got enough time. We're not going to do it for this Halloween because there's no way. And Galactic Armory just doesn't have that program out yet. So we'll be pushing for either like some type of Comic-Con, if one is local, or definitely by Halloween next year, and I should have everything done by then. So that's kind of a long-term project. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, I'm a little nervous about it because I want it to look great. I don't want it to be half-assed. And, and looking at the complexity of it, if you paint a miniature, you're like, okay, well, you can paint a miniature and we're good to go, blah, blah, blah. But then when you're talking about doing a set of armor, suddenly the painting process is going to be a little bit more involved. It's going to be a lot larger. And, we're going to be using some rattle cans. We're not going to have all the cool little tiny paints that we have in these tiny bottles. Otherwise, I'd go broke trying to do that. So coming into that, the logistics of that is going to be interesting as well. So yeah, the lead belcher is coming out pretty good. I like that. Good go. Like I said, lead belcher is probably one of my more favorite paint colors. Is that kind of weird to say? I don't know. I'm almost 60. I don't care. I told my wife I was going to do a cosplay armor. She just kind of rolled her eyes and was like, okay, have fun. But that's a cool thing. She's awesome. And as long as it keeps me out of trouble, then it's good to go. And according to our little YouTube thing, I just got over 280,000 views. So for those of you who are watching, thank you very much. 280,111 views. So that is cool. Thank you for that. That is definitely an accomplishment. Of course, it's been a while. If you look at when I started my YouTube channel, it's been a long time. So but then it was on and off again. Had kind of a long road with the YouTube channel, and then problems with YouTube, and there's just a whole story behind that. But it is what it is. No big deal. Some people are like, "Why are you painting the bottom? No one's going to see that." It's like, but I'll see it. I'll know it. So we're just trying to do a quick little job on this here. This isn't going to be like painting some of my other miniatures where it takes months and months of painting, little bits at a time. We're just going to try to knock this out. And that's why it's like, slap this stuff on and we'll be good to go. We can do little detail stuff later. And I want to try to get this done before we go on our vacation. So we're going to go to Vietnam. And that'll be an interesting vacation. I mean, we haven't been there before, but that'll be kind of a cool thing, I think. It'll be an interesting trip. Interesting trip indeed. We're going to take about 10 days and do that. We're going to go to Hanoi. We'll spend a few nights there. And then we're going to go to Sapa. There's like a 9-hour train ride or something like that we have to go on. And then we'll get to Sapa, and then we'll spend a few nights there, and then we'll go to Franzipan, which is kind of like the largest or the highest peak in Asia. So hopefully we'll get sunny weather and be able to see the views. But a lot of times up there, it's cloudy and overcast, and so, I don't know, we're going to hope for the best. So keep your fingers crossed. That would be nice to be able to not have clouds and have clear sky and be able to see everything. So we shall see. Need a little bit more. Just a little bit more paint. Maybe? Yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more paint for the front. But it's coming out pretty good. I mean, that's why I like that lead belcher. It really comes out with a good color. So, Deadly Wolf pops in and says hello. Why, hello. Doing a little bit of a WarHammer Chaplain hunt. Games Workshop has been like crucifying people for using their intellectual property, which I think just hurts their fan base. So, I don't know. It is what it is. But I ended up getting this before it got taken down. And I don't sell this, so just personal use, but I really don't agree with Games Workshop just kind of like suing creators and fan art and stuff like that, because, imagine if Star Wars ended up started suing their people, their fans and fan-based art and stuff like that. Deadly Wolf says, I have a question. Is speed painting or what is it? Or painting, speed painting or Comstarch painting good for beginners? Speed painting is really good. But then again, regular painting is fine, but speed painting is good as long as you paint your miniature, prime it black, and then do some type of zenithal on it, do some white highlights, and then you go back over, and then the speed paints are kind of an opaque, and so you can kind of see the patterns and the shadows with the zenithal and the black, and it ends up turning out really nice. The learning curve is not big at all. And I started with regular acrylic paints from Army Painter, and that was kind of a learning curve. And learned some good stuff. But like I said, I don't know if I told you, but I didn't start painting until a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, and I'm almost 59, so it's not bad. But let me show you. Oh, I can't do that. But anyway, I do have this guy here. This is a good example. So I ended up taking this guy. This guy was prime black, and then we dry brushed this guy. And so we have some shadowing on here with the white and the dark areas, and with the speed paints, those shadows will come out with those speed paints, and so it comes out really, really good. I mean, this will be a pretty cool. That will be a pretty cool figure there. So, yeah, speed paint is pretty good. It's pretty easy to learn, and yeah, would I recommend it? Yeah, I'd take some videos, get some speed paints, and give it a shot, and get the kit, little base kit, and see if you like it. Watch videos. I watch a ton of videos. There's so many good painters out there. Holy crow. But just pick up go for one paint set, look up some techniques and see, copy what other people are doing is basically what it comes down to. And you can do really well. So it's definitely kind of cool. And the speed paints work. Acrylic paints, they work, but you have to thin your paints out. There's a little bit more of a learning process for like doing shading and stuff like that. Whereas speed paints, if you do your zenithal or your dry brushing, you should be good to go, and that shouldn't be a problem. Because zenithal is, in my opinion, is a pretty easy process. But when you're talking about regular acrylic paints, like the Army Painter Mega Paint Set or whatever, now you're talking about, well, you got to do a base color, and then you got to learn how to do, you got to dilute your paints a little bit, and that's kind of a learning curve. But I'd say the speed paint would probably be the easiest way. So, 50 Wolf says, I've started 3D printing miniatures, and I bought my very cheap acrylic paint, but I'm not happy with the cheap paint. But it was a test, but I like it. I did the same thing. I bought some cheap paints, and it was like, it didn't turn out the way I wanted, but I liked it. And that's what I ended up getting, the Army Painter paint set. And that made a big difference. So, and with the other paints, I didn't even paint or do a video with the cheap paint. I'm trying to get. And then just learning how to paint a straight line and do some edge highlighting. And yeah, that'll be good to go. All righty. That looks pretty good. I think this is turning out well. we'll do the bolts on the side of his head. Do a coat on that, and then we can always come back and we can do a different color, because we don't want to do the same color. We want to have some different colors on here. At least that's what people tell me. And then, so we'll throw in like some retributor armor, some gold or rust type on here as well. And yeah, but good stuff. Yeah, I would go with the speed paints if I could do it all over again, and if I was just wanting to do something quick and get some good results for miniatures, because I also print 3D miniatures, I would go with the speed paints, because all you got to do is prime your stuff black, do either dry brushing or zenithal with an airbrush, and boom, you can nail it. Put those speed paints on there and you can get some colors, you can get some depth. And it's pretty amazing on some of the stuff that you can end up getting with speed paints. I just recently got speed paints a little while ago. So, and I was just amazed at how easy it was. I was like, man, I should have got these a long time ago. I think the hardest part is just learning how to paint and how to orient, the model, and then you paint and not put your brush in a weird place or whatever. Yeah, that looks good. Guess we could do the cross on his head there. Might as well do that. I'm not sure what the color is going to be on this, but we'll just kind of do lead belcher. What the hell? I've got a little bit left over. And then, yeah, just practice. And the good thing is with miniatures, if you're printing your own miniatures, that's pennies, And if you screw it up, you can just repaint them and do them over again. Or if it's really bad, then you can always just paint more miniatures. Dilly Wool says, I bought a paint set like $5 and trying to get the sword feeling and learning my way to paint the figure. Yeah, I kind of went that route. But then I got the Army Painter set, but you still need to learn how to kind of thin your paint out so it looks good. And with lower quality paints, it's definitely more of a chore. But you get the general idea. So, yeah, not bad. I think we did good here. Just a little touch up. And then we'll throw in some other stuff. And then the other thing I found out with miniature painting is that they're really small. So the small miniature painting, miniatures are small. It's kind of implied in the name. But see, can we resurrect some of this a little bit? But yeah, it's harder to get the details with smaller figures. And so I was like really frustrated because of the small details. I was like, man. And then I saw a few people painting bigger items, but I was like, man, maybe the bigger, I was kind of afraid to do bigger items. And lo and behold, it's easier to paint the bigger stuff. So, yeah, it is. It's definitely a thing. So, for example, I think we're done with this little bit here. I think we've got enough of that done. So you can see that there. Not bad. But let me show you something. like some miniatures, minis. So trying to do the details on these guys would be crazy, and takes a super steady hand. And this is good, but it's just taken me forever and a day to do this. And there's still areas that I need to work on this. But when you make these bigger, it's so much easier to paint. So like we've got that guy. I'll put that guy over there. And then this guy here. So these are giants. And the same kind of color scheme. But it turned out well. I just haven't finished them. Of course, that's kind of what I end up doing, is that I'll start something and I get involved in something else. And yeah, it's satisfying but frustrating at the same time. Let's just put it that way. Looks nice in my opinion. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I think those turned out really well. And I have bigger models of those as well. So yeah, those will be easier to paint. But yeah, fun stuff. And then I started doing larger models. Let me show you some of the other ones. So to give you an idea of, like, this was done with speed paints. Let's see if I can turn it. This was done with speed paint. So I did a zenithal on this, and all of this is speed paint, except for, I think, like maybe 1% or whatever. But this is a free model off the Colt's 3D page, except for like the real shiny stuff. That was actually resin that I cured on there. And then the eyes and the teeth, I ended up kind of doing that with some regular Army Painter paints. But everything else was speed paints on this, which turned out really, really good. I was super stoked. This took like 4.5 hours, but the details on it were crazy. And then like the rust and stuff like that, I used some different paints. That wasn't speed paint. So I'd say about 99% of this was speed paint. And yeah, it turned out really good. Really good. Good stuff there. And then another one I ended up doing with some speed paints was this gentleman right here. So we got this guy, and of course he's kind of a red, and you can kind of see the different colors on him. And then we did a bunch of detail work and stuff like that. But with the zenithal, we can actually see some shading on the red on his armor and things like that. Of course, this one's kind of bloody, but yeah, that turned out pretty good. I was pretty happy with this as well. So yeah, good stuff with the speed paints. It really comes out really, really well. So I was very pleased with that. Those two pieces there are really good, especially that one. This one being the speed paint, like 99%. But we did edge highlighting, just little, like the veins on his arm. We kind of did those, with a little paint there. And the colors that you use comes into play as well. And the eyes were crazy. The eyes were crazy. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. I don't have a good light source over there. Then I used like a super fine tip marker to get the pupils on the eyes. So I kind of cheated with that, but 99% of that was, and if you look, I've got a video on this guy as well. So of me painting this guy, and so you can see some of the stuff that we ended up doing. It turned out really good. I was really, really, really happy with this. Really good. So, alrighty, back to, and I think we're down a little bit. Yeah, bring that light down a little bit. Now we got to throw in some other colors here. I think what we can end up doing is we'll use this Retributor armor that we had with Citadel paints. I'll get that mixed up. And with the lead belcher, with it being kind of a darker color, the other thing we could end up doing is going back with like a silver, like maybe even this plate metal or even a silver color, shining silver, and we could do some edge highlighting to get, so it's just not all one color. This Retributor armor will be pretty good for some of the little things that we got going on in here. So I'll show you what I mean. Ooh, that is a nice color. I like this a lot too. Retributor armor color. So, and what I'll end up doing, so we'll just do that centerpiece. And how that will create some depth. It's a different color. You know, kind of, instead of it just being like dull colors, that will really kind of make this thing pop. Yeah, the speed paints are good. I like them. I really do. And I thought I'd be doing more airbrushing with the Army airbrush set, but I haven't really done much with it. So, I don't know. Let's see how this goes. I think we'll do this inside. And we can do this back piece. Yeah, that would be nice. Make that pop a bit. But there's so many good artists out there. Holy crow. People do some amazing work. But I would say, I think what really clicked with me was just get in your base color, which is going to be a darker color, and then come back with a lighter color, and then to do some highlighting, and then come back again with an even lighter color to do some really small highlights. And when you do that, you really create some depth in the model. And it just really, it pops, you know, because you have those highlights. And edge highlighting, that's great, that's awesome. But that's kind of the thing is, you know, I didn't come up with it, but, you know, you do those basically three colors, you know, a base, a highlight, and then an even lighter one. And boom, it ends up, you can really get some good stuff on there. And then if you throw in some washes and stuff like that, you can create more depth. Washes are really, really good too. I like those as well. So we're just hitting this and quitting this. So that came out good. I think we'll do the sides as well with that. I'm going to need some more of that. But the Citadel colors were the first paints that I ended up getting. And it was a little, I don't know, 12 pack or 15 pack or whatever the smallest pack of paints that you could get. That's what I got. And they turned out, it was good. I got it with the WarHammer, but then I found out that the WarHammer miniatures that you buy are like stupid expensive. And that's when I got into resin printing. So, yeah. So I kind of did the same thing. I started painting and trying to save some money. Of course, if you buy a resin printer, yeah, you got to buy the printer. You got to learn how to do all that stuff. But, no big deal. Being retired, it gives me time. But I'm pretty busy being retired. And there's so much that I want to do. But I wish I had done this stuff earlier in life. Oh, yeah, that's going to come out nice. Nice, nice, nice. Which one is better, Army Paint or Citadel to start with, and on a low budget? I don't know. You'd have to. I started out with Citadel, but I just, with the limited colors, it worked out okay. Speed paints, I would go with speed paints and get a decent set. You're gonna pay some money, but you know what? Go get plasma and save up that money. I'm serious. Go sell your plasma. I've done that before in the past, and get a good, get a good set, and it'll be worth it. You know, then you can say that you bled for your hobby. But yeah, I would say speed paints because you can really get. I think you can really get some mileage, some good mileage with speed paints, and it just seems like they're easier to paint with, easier to learn. Citadel's okay. I don't like their paint pots because those things, if you tip those over and you spill it, you will lose all of your paint. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, that's gonna come out nice. Sweet. Oh, we'll do the front here since we got some paint left over. And I'll show you why I like some of the paints on Citadel, like the Retributor armor, the lead belcher, really good colors. But I don't like the paint pots. Don't drop the paint. Yeah, that's for sure. So I'll show you why. Because this is a Citadel paint pot. Now this has got it is really rough. But the paint pot sits like this, and if you knock this over, you'll probably lose 90% of your paint if you knock this over because of this right here. And then you can also see where the paint will start to dry within here, and then your paints will dry up really quick. I really don't like those. So that's what I ended up doing is taking and putting them into dropper bottles because with a dropper bottle, here's what happens when you knock over a dropper bottle. Nothing spills. So, yeah, if you do go with Citadel paints, definitely get some dropper bottles. It is a well worth investment to get those. So, but I would go with speed paints. If it was me again and I had to go back in time and I had to pick one, I would pick speed paints. Just become a master of zenithal and priming, and you will be good to go. Okay, what are we going to do? We could do some teeth. Let's do some teeth. And we get a choice of skeleton bone, or we could do something with mummy robes. Those are regular army painter paints, but if we go over here to the speed paint, bony matter, that's not going to be, I made these caps so you can see, but I don't think, we don't have a zenithal on here, so that's going to be, I think we'll go with the army painter. And that is still going to be kind of skeleton bony, so let's go with the mummy robes. I'll mix that up. But yeah, with the Citadel paints, and these are open. If you knock this over, you're going to lose your paint for sure, and you'll be crying. So, so that's why I transferred them all over to dropper bottles, and that was well worth the money. Oh man, I haven't used this in so long, and there's a stainless steel ball bearing in there as well. But that's, like I said, the army painter paints, they're so thick you have to thin them out. Whereas the speed paints, as long as your zenithal gain is good or your dry brushing game is good, to where you can do something like this, which doesn't take much. A little bit of practice, and then the speed paints are more diluted and they're easier to use. Man, this is okay. We'll give it a shot and see how thick that is. That is pretty thick. So you're going to have to dilute that a little bit. Because if you don't dilute it, then what happens is that you're going to use more paint than what you really need to use. So you need to dilute that stuff so it goes farther. And then that's kind of a learning process in itself, is the paint and diluting it. And yeah, it's just kind of an interesting little thing. So let's go ahead and we'll start painting some teeth. Yeah, I think that was a good choice. Good choice. The mummy robe for the teeth. And I'm not going to paint the whole everything. I'm just going to paint like the highlighted areas of the tooth and leave the original color in between the teeth. So again, we create some depth. So it's just not a cracked white smile for the whole thing, because that would look odd. And then when we throw on some wash, that'll add some more depth of it in there as well, because it'll darken up those recessed areas. So yeah, cool. And we'll turn this guy up. And again, I used put down more paint than what I needed. Which happens. So that's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. If you get the regular army painter paints, again, learning how to dilute it, not using too much paint like I just did. So there's a little bit of a learning curve on that, but you know, you got to learn somehow, and you don't learn until you just do it. And a ton of YouTube videos. So there's our teeth. It's turned out pretty good. Not bad. And again, I've got way too much paint. One of these days I'll learn. But that's why I like the speed paint. Speed paint is so much easier to use and learn, and you don't have to dilute your paints. It's just the learning curve is a little bit shorter. So, yeah, speed paints if I didn't have time, like I do now, being retired, I would go with the speed paints personally. But then there's something to be said for, getting regular army paints and learning how to dilute your paints and all that. I mean, that's another skill set in and of itself. So, yeah. So that's what we got going on. How does that work out? Not bad. This would be a nice little dude. And I'm not even sure that's going to be, that might be red or something. I'm not sure. I'm totally clueless on to what the WarHammer lore specific, all of that stuff is. Metallic. I think we could put those away. So we're not going to use those. Some other little colors that we could end up doing on here to set this apart. Weapons bronze. I don't know. I'm not sure how we would use that. Gunmetal. Plate mail. That's a little bit. We could do some silver. And we could end up doing some edge highlighting on the corners and just put a little bit of tiny bit of paint on those edges. That could look nice. Something. What kind of paintbrush do we want to use? I think we'll use this one. So we'll do the shining silver and we'll just do some edge highlighting. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Because with all this color that we have of the lead belcher, it's just like a big blotch of lead belcher, of gray. And since it's a darker silver, what we can end up doing is taking the silver, which is lighter, and we can just draw just a hairline right on those edges, and especially at the corners of where the light, simulating where the light would hit. And yeah, it could turn out pretty good. Again, it's just those little details. And I used edge highlighting on that guy. I did them on that guy. I did a little bit on this, not much. Probably need to go over and redo or add some edge highlighting on him, but I think he's good. So let's do, again, a little drop. And this is the Army Painter, Shining Silver. And again, look at how thick that is. That's just, so you got to dilute that down a bit. So just put it back up. Drop, and we'll just kind of mix this together. Diluting your paint is that takes some practice as well. You know, how much water, put too much water, and then you got to add more paint, and then it can be rough. Let's see if the silver turns out well. So basically what we can end up doing here is this is simulating where the light is just going to hit that edge. You can see it's got a little bit of a, in other words, a little bit of a highlight that we can kind of put on there because it kind of breaks that, all that up. So you could run the brush this way. So 30% water, 60% paint. Yeah, there's always the formulas. Then again, it's like, until you can really get to what, you know, how good it comes out to. I wish the edges on this were a little bit better. Or sharper. So that way this would go on a little bit better. Otherwise, you just have to do like a real fine line of this. Just kind of go around and just kind of just hit something like that. So you get a little bit of a different color on there. So Joanna R says, in lore, do you think they use dead organ to make the helmet, or is it just purpose built? I have no idea. That's a good question. But I am not a big WarHammer lore guy, so somebody else would have to answer that question. But I mean, with some of the lore, it talks about, you know, some of these dudes are like, you know, part cybernetic, you know, and part machine and part human. So, and then they added out their, so it's entirely possible. Some of them could just be helmets. I don't know, but that's a good question to ask. That is for sure. So we're just going to do a little bit of edge highlighting. I wish the edges on this were a little bit sharper, because then that would be a little bit more pronounced. But we're still getting a little bit on here, so it's not bad. And again, you're just kind of highlighting where the light would be hitting. So it's not like you want to edge highlight everything. But like the Necros, as far as lore, I mean, some of those guys are just kind of jacked up. So you know, there's that. And then let's see, yeah, I'll just do a little bit over here. it's just the little tiny details that can really just set the model up just a little bit different or a little bit more, you know. And it's amazing on how those little details can really just make some things pop. And we can even use this silver on some of this color here. So is where it just catches, but it would have to be just very light. And you could also use it to where it's like help to distress. So instead of having just a mass of retributor color, we've got some silver in there that gives some highlights. So it kind of breaks up that big mass. Just a little bit. So, Diddley Wolf says, so the Army Painter Speed Paint, most wanted set 2.0 is a good start. That's what I would go for. If I was going to start over, or I even recommended my daughter that she wanted to get into painting, but her time is valuable because she's a doctor. So she wanted something to be able to paint and be able to get some good results, but not have to invest a ton of time because she's a doctor and her time is spent doing, you know, notes and patients and all that stuff. So, yeah, I that's what I recommended for her and a few other people as well. So, that's what if I was going to do it again, that's what I would go for. So that kind of breaks that up a little bit. If we do this on the back, just kind of. And then you could also end up doing something like kind of like scuff marks, you know, with some silver. And that way you kind of have a little bit of breakup in the colors. So you'd end up just kind of and then little tiny. Let's see if we get. So you can kind of see where this is. You see where the light hits it, and that's where you would put that silver. Which really turns out kind of good. And again, it breaks up the big mass color that we got there. Probably not so much on the bottom, but yeah, turns out pretty good. So yeah, I think it turned out good. Turned out good. Not bad. Not bad at all. So we could still try to do some stuff on here. We could end up doing some washes in these crevices that we end up having to create a shadow effect on the underside of these overhangs and things like that. So that would create more depth as well. But I'm not going to go too overboard on this. But pretty good. Pretty good. But yeah, the Army Painter Speed Paint 2.0 Most Wanted set with 24 colors, I think that'd be a good starter set. I think that would be a good set. That's probably what I would go for. But then again, sell plasma. Buy once, cry once. With that, I wonder what. Let's look up Chaplain helmet. And we'll see what kind of pictures we can get on this guy. So the images. So we've got some pictures of where, like, the inside is black. That's kind of different. Okay. Well, that's more pronounced. They've got a more well-defined line on theirs. And they went with the black. So we're doing something a little bit different. But I'm wondering, there's that one there. That looks pretty good. The red eyes, that looks really hot. Definitely we'll have to, we could actually put in some, I don't know, some plastic over the eyes and do some red LEDs in there. That would look hot. But mostly it's kind of dark. It's kind of a blackish for that. We could do some black. Notice kind of like on this guy, it has the black around it with the silver on the inside. So yeah, we could do some black. Let's do some black, and that'll break up a lot of. Ooh, there's another one. Look at that one. He ended up using red on some of those. That would look good too. I don't know how close that is to lower, but yeah, let's go ahead and we'll do black on that part. Do we have a shine of black? That's the question. And then could we do some black to kind of tie this in? So if we do black there, maybe we could do this piece here in black, and then that would really offset the gold. So yeah, we can go back and we could do some black on that. That's like I said, I mean, if you make a mistake, you can always paint over it. But that's a matte black. Do I have like a high gloss black? No, I don't think I do. Let's shade purple. It's kind of a weird black. I think we'll just have to go with this. And then what we could end up doing is we could take this black and then we could come back and we could put like a varnish on it, like a high gloss varnish to try to pop that out. So yeah, I think that'll work. And so we'll put a drop of that. So let's rock it. Just do a little bit of water on there. And we'll mix up our black. We should be good to go. So let the black begin. Maybe, ooh, that is going to be black. That's for sure. But that might work in our favor because we could do this, the silvers underneath, and maybe we could just use that as the edge. So yeah, this can work out. And that is black. But I think that'll work. So even though we got the silver underneath, we'll try to keep that on the sides. And so that way we've got some, we don't have to go back and try to paint the whole thing. We just end up doing the black, and then we'll have the silver on the sides. And I think that'll look good. Going to have a nice day with painting. Thanks for the info. You're welcome. Thanks for coming and checking out the channel. Be sure to subscribe, and that way you can see some of the other stuff I do. But if you don't, that's cool. Just go and enjoy and have a good time painting. Have fun while you can. Oh yeah, I think that black is the way to go. That is going to be good. That is going to be good. Yeah, and then we'll go back over here and we'll do like this part. We'll do that in black. That'll be good. So let's jump on it. Oh yeah, that's going to be good. Oops. Got some on the gold. Oh well, it is what it is. Kind of reminds me of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Silver and black. Or black and silver, whatever it is. Might have to do a couple coats on this, but oh yeah, that looks so much better. Good call. Good call. I have to do a little touch up on the retrobeater armor, but not a problem. And hit it with a varnish, like a high gloss varnish. That'll really pop. Easy there. Yeah, I think that'll turn out good. Good call on the black. I'm glad we checked the phone and see what kind of color schemes there are out there for this guy. Oh yeah, that's definitely a lot better. Muy bueno. And we'll have to come back. Have to do another coat, but that's okay. I think I diluted it a little bit too much. So yeah, we'll have to do another coat, but that's okay. I tried to get through this kind of quick, but don't forget to breathe while you're painting. So yeah, this is what I end up doing. As I'm retired here in Korea, besides going to the gym, I end up doing 3D printing stuff and painting. Fun stuff. Yeah, that black's gonna come out pretty good. And screw it up. Yeah, we're gonna go over that anyway. Put this retro WarHammer color again anyway, so just a little touch up. And then with this black, the other good thing about this black is when you start doing that edge highlighting, you can really get some good highlighting on there. So yeah, I think it's going to turn out good. And we'll go back. I'm liking how this is turning out. is good. Not bad. Not bad at all. Try to get that. I was going to leave the edges silver, but I think not. It just makes it kind of look unfinished. But we can fix that real quick. A little bit of paint. Yeah, it's going to come out good. So we got some black in there. I think that was a good call to do that. We might even do, because we're going to have the black tubes, so that'll be good. So I don't know if we need to do any more black. Maybe just around, here. And these. Say goodbye to the silver edge highlighting that we did. Well, we can always go back and redo that. Yeah, I think that'd be worth it. And somebody's going to say, well, why do you have to do it on the bottom? No one's going to see it. It's like, I will see it. I will know. So, yeah, I think that'll be good. Nice. I like that. And then if we hit the black with some varnish, some high gloss varnish, that'll really make that black pop. And I think we're good to go on that. Which I might even. A little bit of black in there. So yeah, I think we are good. I think we're good with that. Clean up these two brushes, but I think we're good to go. And what we ended up doing, nice. Come back and go back. There's some other stuff that we could end up doing here. Like we could do some rust. And so for example, we could use this dirty down rust to do some rust. And I think we'll do that a little bit. We might even put some moss. That we have dirty down moss, and that can add some color to this as well. So the rust will be good because that'll be a different color than the gold. Again, it'll show some wear and tear and a little bit of moss and some crevices and stuff like that to make it look really old. So we'll set that aside. We'll do that on another one. But overall, seeing how this turned out was pretty good. And yeah, I think I think this turned out well. Again, we can use some of that stuff to kind of break up the massive lead belcher color that we got there. But yeah, I think that'll be really good. And then I'll put some red LEDs in there. We'll put some lenses, some red plastic in there on the eyes, and then we'll put some red LEDs behind there. Matter of fact, I've got an LED already wired up. Because I just so happened to be working on my Doomslayer helmet, and I was like, hey, what we can end up doing is we can have that, and if we have that as an eye, oh yeah, look at that, that's going to be cool. So I could end up putting a red eye in there, and even just with a red like that, that would look really cool. So yeah, so whether I end up doing like a couple of eyes like that, or if I just do that, it's still going to look really good. But I think I could put this in there like that, and I could glue that in there and have another one over here. That would look hot. So yeah, and this is just a little LED light that already has a resistor on it, and this is a little double A battery. Boom, makes everything easy. Will this fit in there? Look at that. It's like it was made for it. So yeah, I can just put this baby in there and boom. Oh, and we also got the red light up top there. Check that out. Here, watch. Now go down. Look at the red that we got on the light up there. That is going to come out. That is going to come out really good. And if we do that, oh yeah, that is going to look hot. So we could do 3. That'll look really good. Man, that'll look good. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Yeah, cool little stuff that we could end up doing. Little LED pack, boom, and we're good to go. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close out this video, and hopefully you all will like and subscribe if you like what you end up seeing. And yeah, stay tuned, and we can see what happens on the next video where we do some more stuff on this, and we'll get some LEDs. We'll do 2 in the eyes, and maybe we'll even do 1 up top there so we can get some real good color. And yeah, we'll put in the tubes. And next time, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do some wash on the teeth to get some depth in there as well. And yeah, we'll do some high gloss varnish on the black so that really kicks. And yeah, should be good. Alrighty, there it is. There it is. And if we go to that page right there, what we'll end up with is, can we do that? There we go. Boom. So there's a little outro page. And yeah, like I said, like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. If you want to email me, there's an email address on there. You're free to anything. And I reply back in 1 or 2 days, maybe not when I'm on vacation. But I will definitely answer back 100%. And then if you want to buy me coffee, you can do that. But the best thing that you could end up doing is liking the video. Yes, you must like the video. Like the video. It's what you need to do. Okay. Well, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you on the next video. Peace. Good stuff. Good stuff.